Many people have the curiosity, is The Exorcist based on a true story? They would be horrified to learn that Roland Doe's possession served as the basis for the true Exorcist narrative. The Exorcist is based on the William Blatty novel from 1971, which the author was inspired to create by reading about Roland Doe while a Georgetown University student. Friedkin's 1973 adaptation of The Exorcist stars 12-year-old Linda Blair as Regan, a young girl who is possessed. The Exorcist is an obviously dramatized film that uses compelling special effects to frighten viewers, yet the genuine story is just as terrifying. Much of The Exorcist is based on a real story about a young boy in Cottage City, Maryland in the 1940s. Despite the fact that the film centers on a young girl who becomes possessed by an enigmatic force. Although it has been over 10 years since Roland Doe was recognized, numerous authorities concur that his true name is Ronald Hunkeler. He remained anonymous, but after his passing in 2020, more details about his life have surfaced. There has never been a better opportunity to reflect on the true Exorcist narrative, who the real Regan is, and where Roland is now, than now, with David Gordon Green's The Exorcist Believer on the way. Roland Doe's experience served as the basis for the factual story The Exorcist. Newspapers claimed in March 1949 that the Exorcist's priests had exorcised a 14-year-old child named Robbie, or Roland Doe, who had been possessed by a demonic force. The youngster was used to seeing paranormal phenomena since he was reared in a German Lutheran home. His Aunt Harriet gave him a Ouija board for his birthday after he requested one. After his mom died, the youngster started to notice unusual and unsettling things happening around the home, such as rattling on the walls and flying items. Many of these incidents are faithfully reenacted in The Exorcist. Since The Exorcist is based on a true story, many of the events that Roland and his family experienced end up in the film. Roland's family attempted to get in touch with his aunt after she passed away, but this resulted in scratches all over Roland's body and bed. Moving or an impromptu Catholic baptism, which set off Roland's uncontrollable wrath, had little effect on their predicament. Every expert Roland's family consulted, including a visit to a psychiatrist, proved to be ineffective. Father Raymond J. Bishop helped the family when they were unable to acquire any answers, and many exorcisms were carried out in The actual Exorcist. Roland tore off a piece of the mattress spring and flung it at the priest, forcing the priest to call off the exorcism that served as the basis for the film The Exorcist. A few days later, Roland began to develop red scratches that resembled the word Lewis. Roland was exorcised by Father Walter H. Halloran and Reverend William Blatty at St. Louis University after the family was informed to do so. The family saw the furniture tipping over, Roland's mattress shaking violently, and the crucifix being pulled to the foot of the bed when Blatty placed a cross under Doe's pillow. Although The Exorcist is based on a genuine incident, it misrepresents the quantity and variety of exorcisms that actually took place. At his house, Georgetown University Hospital, and the Alexian Brothers Hospital, Roland Doe underwent exorcisms. Every time Roland Doe was exorcised, he supposedly talked in Latin, urinated, puked, spat, and spoke in a deep, strange voice. Priests Walter Halloran and William Van Roo assisted in performing Doe's last exorcism. During the rite, Halloran's nose was smashed. The priest said that this last effort, nonetheless, was effective. So what happened to the youngster from the actual story of The Exorcist? Despite the fact that The Exorcist is based on a genuine story, Roland Doe has been the subject of a great deal of mystery. Experts now think that Roland Hunkeler, a former NASA engineer who participated in the 1969 moon landing, is the true Exorcist victim, more than 75 years after the film's release. Just 1 month before turning 86 in 2020, Hunkeler passed suddenly at his Marriottsville, Maryland home from a stroke. Hunkeler had a very successful career working for NASA as an adult, despite the several exorcisms he had as a youngster. Roland Doe, according to the New York Post, the Exorcist character really contributed to the patenting of the technology that made space shuttle panels impervious to intense heat during the 1960s Apollo missions. Except for a few close friends, scholars, and the Jesuits who knew the priests who conducted the exorcism, not many people were aware of his hidden identity. After learning that The Exorcist is based on a genuine occurrence, Hunkeler reportedly constantly concerned that his employees would find out and even left his house on Halloween out of fear that someone would harass him. In 2001, Hunkeler left NASA after 40 years there. While attending Georgetown University, author William Blatty, who died in 2017, had the inspiration for The Exorcist, generally regarded as the scariest movie ever. In his presentation on exorcisms, a lecturer explicitly mentioned Roland's story. He was able to get a copy of the priest's diary that the speaker had described. Blatty also got in touch with Reverend William Blatty, who provided him with facts that he used to modify Roland's account and turn The Exorcist into a work of fiction. When Blatty's book was published in 1971, it immediately became a bestseller. A few years later, Blatty was approached by William Friedkin to adapt it into a movie, and Blatty penned the screenplay for it. The Exorcist is now revered in many horror films, yet the idea of an exorcism did not always sit well with viewers. Blatty had to make a few changes in order to conceal Roland's identity and the fact that The Exorcist is based on a real event. For example, Roland was changed from a 14-year-old boy to a 12-year-old girl, and Regan's mother was altered from having a big family to being a single parent. However, the notorious ceiling crawl and head spinning have never been completely proven or denied to have occurred in The Exorcist's actual story. The violent outbursts and Roland's eerie low-toned voice did, however, occur. The X that appeared in scratches on Roland's chest indicated that 10 demons were controlling Roland in the first Exorcist, does not appear here. The basic reason for going to St. Louis was removed when the words Louis that were carved into Roland's flesh were altered to help me. Blatty maintained a great deal of the terror from The Exorcist's narrative while leaving out a few details. This includes both Roland and Regan responding strangely after using a Ouija board, behaving strangely solely at night, and acting violently if any religious item was placed in front of them. Surprisingly, despite Blatty having written the screenplay for The Exorcist, the book and movie have a strong relationship. However, Hunkeler's real-life narrative differs somewhat from that of the movie. Although The Exorcist is based on a genuine story, Hunkeler didn't seem too eager on sharing his narrative and name with the public. This is probably for the best, since he almost certainly would have encountered erroneous criticism in some kind. As a little kid who went through such a dreadful experience, the actual horrifying narrative of the real Regan, the one that The Exorcist didn't show, is ultimately far more scary than the book or movie. The Exorcist required a director who could both create something powerful and give tribute to the original narrative, since it's based on a genuine story. Filmmaker William Friedkin was undoubtedly the right choice to tackle the actual story of The Exorcist, and he explained why in an interview with the Catholic journal EWTN. Friedkin acknowledged that Blatty himself had handed him the book and selected him to create the feature film when asked why he made the decision to adapt Blatty's novel into a film. According to Friedkin, Blatty was aware of his experience doing documentaries and wanted the movie to be as accurate as possible. Friedkin claims that he spoke with Doe's aunt, who gave the Exorcist production crew a wealth of information. Friedkin also employed Reverend John Nicola, the Church of the Immaculate Conception's top exorcism expert, as a technical director to ensure the validity of the rituals being conducted. Documentary filmmakers began searching for the actual story behind the real Regan The Exorcist didn't reveal as soon as viewers understood that The Exorcist is based on a genuine story. As a result, there are several documentaries and other movies that go into further depth on Roland Doe's experience. It's also important to note that Possessed, a 2000 film, considerably more faithfully depicts Roland Doe's narrative than The Exorcist did. In The Grip of Evil, a 1997 film that essentially functions as a reconstruction of the Roland Doe case, was the first documentary about the case to be released. Another documentary came out in 2010 called The Haunted Boy: The Secret Diary of the Exorcist. In 2004, a second Roland Doe TV movie documentary with authentic William Blatty interviews was released. Exorcists: The True Story is the title of the movie. While The Devil and Father Amorth is not about Roland Doe, movie director William Friedkin again sat behind the camera to capture the exorcism of an Italian lady by Vatican exorcist Father Gabriele Amorth. The last episode of the TV show Shock Docs, titled The Exorcism of Roland Doe, explores the genuine story behind The Exorcist. That's all for this video. We'll be back soon with another informative video. Don't forget to like and share this video. To keep exploring ancient history together, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time!